Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire. I'm Ian Stone.
I'm Neil Munro.
So today we're talking about, is your analyst truly independent?
Yeah, the word independent.
Yeah, that's a big word, and it's referenced in the guidance. It talks about that it's not a legal requirement, but it's desirable that the analyst is employed by the building owner or occupier, 4-stage clearances.
Yeah, and I think this has kind of been a historical issue which is still carried forward to today, isn't it? So to put this in perspective, when we're talking about licensed asbestos removal contractors undertaking works, it has to be independently checked and verified, and the certificate of occupation issued by an independent, with speech bubbles around it, company or individual to confirm whether it is free from all dust and debris and issue that certification. Now, the word independent is usually sort of in the industry looked at, okay, it has to be a separate company.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of guidance on, well, who actually employs that person. The guidance does say it would prefer to be.
And that's what it says. It's not a legal requirement. It's desirable that they're employed by the building owner or occupier.
Yeah.
It's guidance, and it's kind of leading you down a path. But it's not saying you must.
No.
And as an industry, that isn't what happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, I was just, when we kind of spoke about this before, I was just trying to think in my head, what do we think is the mix? Now, as a company here at Acorn, we generally only do work for the client.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we do independent, 4-stage clearances for contractors. We do, but we try not to. We try to sort of...
It's kind of 99% of the time.
Yeah, work direct for the client.
And the only time that we do those 4-stage clearances for contractors are the ones that we work with and are on our approved list. So therefore, we trust them and what they do.
Yeah, exactly. These are contractors that they want to use us because they want it doing, and they want our certification for their jobs.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, because there are two types of contractors out there. There's the ones that want to look after and save their own health and safety executive asbestos removal licence.
Yeah.
And they appreciate the fact that if you have an analyst that is really, really impartial, independent, and goes through the 4-stage clearance with a fine-tooth comb, that is preserving their licence. Yeah. And that is preserving their livelihoods.
And why would you not want that?
Exactly. However, on the flip side, you do have other contractors that just want an easy life. They're just kind of crash, bang, wallop, done me job. I've got the 4-stage clearance carried out by not particularly brilliant analysts. The bit of paper gets given out, they get paid, they're off to the next job. They're the cowboy end of the market. That is a big concern of who's actually issuing the purchase order for the analyst to do the work. And that is a really good way of kind of counteracting that. And as clients and duty holders, for me, I would want somebody who is going through their job in a very fine tooth comb, very detailed, even to the point of perhaps being a bit overzealous with what they're doing on the analytical 4-stage clearance side.
Yeah. The issue really is when the analytical company is employed directly by the asbestos contractor, there can be opportunities for the contractor to strong arm. I don't know if that's
I'd use that word. Yeah, strong
arm or influence. Definitely influence.
No, I'd even say strong arm. I mean,
yeah. Well, there's definitely that.
I've known of analysts that have had phone calls, or their bosses have had phone calls. So it's gone up from the site supervisor's pissed off because the analyst hasn't just gone in and passed it off.
Yeah.
So he's phoned his contracts manager, who has then spoken to the company manager or equivalent at the other analytical company and gone, what's up with your analyst? Can you just get on the phone and get him to pass it off because he's being over the top?
Yeah.
And it's always that thing of, is he actually being over the top, or are you just kind of...
Is he telling you how to do your job?
Yeah, and I would say probably 99 times out of 100, it's because the contractor hasn't fully cleaned the enclosure properly.
Yeah.
There's still stuff left.
Yeah, exactly that. Now, these conversations happen all the time. And the difference between the analytical company being employed by the client and the contractor, well, as soon as you're employed by the contractor and those conversations happen, the response can be, well, we ain't going to pay you unless you pass it off.
Yeah.
And then straight away, the analytical company, who's already spent out work going to do this job, is in a sticky situation where, not saying that they want to pass it off with something being wrong with it, but it's definitely going to be an influence to go...
It's commercial pressures.
Analyst, you need to do whatever it is to get this passed off.
Yeah.
And then straight away, corners are going to be cut. Efficiencies are going to be tried to be made or gained, or something's not going to be quite right with that.
And that's the thing, when you have got those commercial pressures, because it's the pressure of that one job, but it could also be the pressure of the year's worth of work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got a big job coming up.
We've got a big job. Or
4 weeks of analytical.
Exactly. Do you want our work?
Yeah.
And I mean, especially in this current climate, it's hard just getting normal day-to-day work anyway, let alone having somebody strong-arm you and say, look, if you want this, you will do X. And I mean, we looked at the dictionary, didn't we? And the independent word.
Yeah, this is to a T.
Yeah, so this comes out, there's a few bits. So not influenced or controlled by others in matter of opinion, conduct, not subject to another one's authority or jurisdiction, autonomous or free. And when you start thinking about those, are you free when you're being paid by...
No, you're not.
No. And you can't really give that opinion because it upsets them.
Yeah, and how can there not be authority when the bill payer is telling you you need to do something?
And the thing is, right, so clearances, that they're a difficult thing to do and they're a difficult thing to achieve, the right level of cleanliness. And some of the 4-stage clearances, it's not like a 10-minute job. Some of the clearances that are carried out in large boiler rooms, large areas, things like that, can take days and weeks to actually do.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking that when you've got an analyst that's in there and they've done a week's kind of clearance, and at the end of it they're going, do you know what, boys, it's still not good enough. You've got to go back and re-clean. And the contractor's got 100 operatives on site working.
Yeah.
And you've basically just put another day on the job, another week on the job, whatever. You've got to have some big brass balls to stand up and say, no, that's not good enough, because, well, it falls back on them.
Yeah.
And like we're saying, if that person is actually paying you, the pressure on that analyst on site, when you've got 100 operatives on site, all expecting it to be passed off, they might be on a bonus for actually pulling the job in early. So you've got all these things on that one analyst. And if they're not completely and truly independent, it kind of, all those pressures build up.
Yeah.
And even the best analyst in the world will buckle.
That was the word I was about, yeah. That's it. It's external pressures forcing down. And if you haven't got that clear line of defence, as in, I'm working direct for the client, I've got the client's best interests at heart.
Yes, 100%. And that's the wording right there.
Yeah.
Is when you work for the client, you've literally got the client's best interests at heart. You're not being pressured by anyone else. The only pressure you've got is, are you doing right for what the client wants you to do?
Yeah. And if you are a client, why would you not have that or want that?
Exactly.
Why would you want to put all your eggs in one basket? Essentially, you're asking the asbestos removal contractor to essentially certify their own works by proxy, another company working for them.
Yeah. And let's be honest, removal contractors, they're going to go to their pet. I mean, the unscrupulous ones, right? There's definitely decent contractors out there, like we said, that want they want the best of the best.
People come to us.
But there's other companies out there that will go to their pet. They want nothing but an easy life and all the rest of it. And I get it from like the client's point of view.
Yeah.
Of perhaps issuing one purchase order.
Yeah, you deal with it. I can't be bothered.
It's asbestos. It's a whole pain in the arse. You deal with everything. I get it. But like you just said, if you sit and think about that truly, what are you actually paying for and what are you getting out of it at the end? In my mind, the only way to be is to follow the guidance that says that it is desirable that the analyst is employed by the duty holder.
Yeah.
And that's why it's written that it is desirable, because, I mean, for me, I would like it to have said that it's categoric. It's got to be by the duty holder. But yeah, it's not written like that. But when you just sit down and think about it, like I say, why would you want somebody else in charge of your eyes and ears? And that's what the analyst is. They're your eyes and ears for that project. They're the ones that, like we say, need to have that defence, that armour. And that armour is by you telling them what you want and knowing that you've got their back and they've got your back.
Yeah.
And that's the only way to split it. And like I say, you can't have that employed by a contractor.
Definitely. Because no matter what way you look at it, in the scheme of a project, the analyst is becoming a subcontractor to the removal contractor.
Yes. That's the wrong way round.
And that's the wrong way round.
Because the final piece of the project is that one piece of paper, which is the 4-stage clearance from the analyst. That's literally what you're paying everybody in part of that project to do, is the creation of that final piece of paper. And like you say, if you're a subby to someone, it's kind of, it just dilutes it.
I'm working for you.
Yeah, it dilutes it.
I'm
massively.
not working for the client.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's essentially the point in case that we wanted to put across.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a big one. And like I say, in this current climate, I think people's jobs are getting cut. More kind of
pressure. More pressure's being applied onto projects to get them done, getting done quicker, cheaper, more efficiently. And when those pressures do, then sometimes standards can slip.
Yeah. I mean, on the client side, there's going to be pressure. Like I say, jobs are getting cut. People are having kind of another person's job thrown onto them and all the rest of it. And it might seem like the easy option to go, sod it, get the contract to deal with the lot.
100%.
However, I guarantee that will lead to further issues down the line. And those are the things that will come back and bite you. Whereas if you go fully, truly independent with an analyst on that project, it just saves a lot more headache further down the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Hope you enjoyed that one. If you've got any questions, you can contact us through the Asbestos Knowledge Empire Facebook group. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, asbestos first, not last.